Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Accelerate Hiring and Elevate Candidate Experience. I am Jo Voland from ATC Events and Media, joining you today from beautiful Malau country down here on Phillip Island. Today, we have got two very special guest speakers joining us, experts in this field. I'd like to welcome them onto the virtual stage now, and welcome back a very good friend of ours, Ian McCreary. Ian, you are a regular on this channel. Welcome.
I am. You can't get rid of me, and it's great to be back, Jo.
Too many good insights to share. And Adam, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's great to be with you. Thanks for having us, Jo.
Adam, where are you dialing in from?
I'm dialing in from the US, where it's yesterday.
Where it's yesterday. Lovely. Well, we've got all sorts of secrets about the future for you, and what's happening here on a Thursday. Lovely. So, Ian, do you want to kind of kick off and give us a little bit of a share, because your role has changed significantly recently in the Workday world?
It has. For those that kind of that haven't joined one of these sessions or one of our many lunches before, so Ian McCreary, my background is all in the recruiting space. Started out as an agency recruiter back in the UK nearly 20 years ago now, so showing my age, and sort of worked in talent acquisition, in sort of leadership and transformation, and then sort of switched over to Paradox to help sort of scale Paradox in APAC, trying to transform around how recruiting work gets done and elevate candidate experience. And sort of now here with Workday post that acquisition, and recently transitioned into the AI strategy team. So looking beyond the recruiting space and all AI.
Fabulous. And Adam, you've had quite the journey.
For sure. Great to be with you. 23 years ago, I was also a recruiter, and have been building technology in the talent acquisition space. Spent 9 years in outsourcing globally, and was the CEO of Paradox, one of the most scaled AI talent acquisition companies, before joining Workday as part of that acquisition late last year. And now I'm running product and technology for all of the talent acquisition products at Workday, including Paradox, HiredScore, and Workday Recruiting. So excited to be with you today.
And, I imagine this is quite a new kind of team coming together because of the, let's call it the big three, HCMs on the market. Workday by far have invested the most in having a plethora of choice when it comes to new recruiting technologies. So it's great to be kind of bringing it together and showcasing, what's possible and what's right for each individual organization. Now, for the people online who perhaps are, Oracle users or SAP users or other tools, are the AI tools at Workday accessible for them, even if they're not a Workday user?
Yeah, that's right. So the AI tools from Paradox and HiredScore work with other solutions as well, and in the case of Paradox, also as a standalone solution. And so looking to have lots of ways to use AI and serve the entire market. Of course, there's some special advantages to it all working together seamlessly inside of Workday. We've got many large customers around the world that use Paradox in a standalone fashion.
Fabulous. Well, let's kick off today's discussion. I'll hand over to you now, Ian. I'm going to be keeping an eye on the Q&A. I will jump in periodically and let you know when we have some great questions. So I'll let you share your screen.
Perfect. Great. Before I jump in and share my screen, but thank you so much, Jo, and look, keep us honest, jump in. We'd love to hear your perspective as well, and share kind of from what the audience is saying as well. We'd love for you to be kind of involved and help shape some of the conversation today. It's going to be super conversational. But before we jump into that, I think, Adam, I'd love to kind of get your thoughts here. But some of the sentiment here in this region is that TA have been doing it tough. Expectations are higher than ever around speed, quality, candidate expectations. But we're getting asked to do more with less people, less resources. So we're kind of hoping that, walk away today with kind of some insights around where to start, how we can actually help them kind of look at that global view of what's happening and kind of that market perspective and what's happening in your world. But, before I kind of hand over, are you seeing the same things globally as well?
Yes, I think that those are all very universal trends in that there's just pressure on talent acquisition to do more with less, and global labor markets are in very interesting positions depending on where you are in the world. Seems that folks either have too many or too few candidates for roles, and each creating their own pressures depending where you are. But I think universally there's a really high expectation of what AI will do to make talent acquisition better, from a simple improvement perspective, from the able to have better software tools, able to have faster communication, the changing of candidate behaviors, and AI is both the source and solution to all of those things, all of those challenges. But it's certainly the trends you're seeing in APAC are really in line with what we're seeing globally, especially with global organizations.
Yeah. And Adam, in the spirit of kind of talking about AI and the subject today, I used AI to do a bit of research ahead of our conversations.
I fear what this might be, and I have fear.
I was trying to hide it from you, but you saw this just before we kicked off, but we've known each other and worked with each other for 4 years, and it's amazing what AI can uncover about a person, Adam. So in the research, I came across a Recruiter Brain Food article is Ask You 20 Questions. And I don't know if you want to tell the audience about your experience being a firefighter, but I'd say you look pretty good.
That is amazing. I don't know that I could ever have found that picture myself, but yeah, I actually when I started my career as a recruiter, I would spend nights and weekends running ambulance calls and firefighter calls, and so I would actually make the quip regularly that I'm a corporate firefighter by day and an actual firefighter by night. But I think the most useful thing I learned was stress management. So when people would say that it was really stressful at work, I would often say, maybe not as stressful as you might think.
I love that. And even writing comedy blogs. So I'm going to have to uncover the blogs. I haven't found them yet, but I will. So I'll share them as soon as I do. But there was one thing around why you got into talent acquisition that resonated with me around, the reason that you're in this space is connecting people with meaningful work and companies with great talent that creates a net good in the world. So I'm sure that kind of resonates with many people in the audience today. But how has starting your experience as a recruiter kind of shaped the technology that you've built in your career?
Well, I think it's really important, and I think about when I looked at our team at Paradox, many of us, from our founder Aaron Matus to our head of product Corey Smith, myself, you have the real world experience, and I think we've all probably seen technology we've used over the years and said, this person that designed this has never sat in the seat and never been a recruiter, and so I think just having that real world lived experience gave us a lens to understand the industry well, but also the empathy for all sides of that what candidates want, what recruiters want, what reporting you need, and helped us to design systems. But then also just the passion for the problem, to have it be the thing that you want to solve, not just a way to make a buck or the place you fell into, but something that you care deeply about. I think that's mattered a lot.
Yeah, and anyone that knows you, Adam, kind of will see that sort of from you in every conversation that we have, and all of our customer conversations as well. Like in the time that we're at now, I'd say describe it as noisy, maybe a little bit messy with all of these asks and AI.
Yeah,
it really is. There's so much coming at talent leaders and talent professionals today. Like, what are you seeing as some of those biggest challenges and opportunities in the recruiting space today?
Yeah, I think certainly from a recruiting leader standpoint is just setting expectations of how how you're going to deliver on the business and how you're going to get things done with do more with less every year. But I think the things that we're seeing are increased applicant flow from candidates. Some of that's due to labor market pressures. Some of that's due to AI apply tools, those kinds of things. But certainly seeing companies struggle with the amount of applications for certain roles and be able to get through those, and finding ways to shortlist the best 20 candidates, not the first 20 candidates, and find the ones that are the best in the stack. I think with AI is bringing across just different skill changes, and companies are looking to understand their labor force, what talent they have in it, and internal mobility is more important than ever as you think about times of technology change. And companies that are have too many of certain types of people and not enough of the others, trying to find ways to keep their own employees rather than have to make hard choices and go that direction. And I think there's expectation on all sides of this that AI will make this easier for them, including hiring managers and candidates, but also realizing that sometimes what makes AI easy for me makes it hard for you. And so understanding the both sides of that, and that includes more volume in the system from AI generated CVs, from different tooling on that end that creates challenges in the system. And so companies finding hard times to really identify top talent for roles and get the best people to the hiring manager's hands as fast as possible. I have a good friend who's got a key metric that he says, if I can get a qualified candidate in front of a hiring manager within 10 days, and I don't have the escalations. And so just being sure and having those rising expectations about how fast we can deliver as a team and how to find that talent. And then of course there's always the lens of compliance. And so that is one of the things about our industry, is that it is highly regulated. It has governance, it has legal risk, it has cultures and norms to how this is done, and navigating all of that at a global level, especially using new tech, that's a fun challenge.
It really is. And we've got a bit of a poll for those in the audience, just to hear kind of what, if those challenges that Adam's just talked to kind of resonate with you. So we can activate the poll, and look, Joe, jump in as well around what we're seeing in the poll and what people are sharing, and if it kind of aligns with what we're seeing globally. Like Adam, I don't know about you, but I sort of the same problems that you talked to, maybe not about AI risk, but risk has always been there. These problems have been the same. They always have been. It's about sort of speed, velocity, making sure that you attract and get that top talent better or quicker than your competitors. So I think those challenges haven't changed. It's now just, I'd say, amplified with AI.
And for those of you that haven't found the poll yet, if you pop on the little lightning bolt that says interactions, you'll see there's a little icon there. We're already starting to get some poll results through. So the questions that's been asked is, where does your hiring process feel most broken today? Currently, the people who are answering, too manual, recruiters are buried in admin instead of talking to candidates, is coming in as the top response. Followed by inconsistent candidate experience. Some are getting the white glove treatment and others hitting a black hole. So they're the two. Oh, and look, too manual is just shooting ahead now. Yeah, as people have found this poll. So, it's funny because, really we've been talking, there's been a plethora of automation options around. How long has Paradox been on the market for now?
Yeah, 2017, so nine years.
9 years, yeah, right. So, despite having talked about this and this being available, here we are in 2026, and we've got 59% of the people online today saying recruiters are buried in admin instead of talking to candidates.
Yeah, that's which is great. Like literally, the paradox for which we were named is we built AI so you spend more time with people, not software. And to solve that challenge of being buried in admin work, and when we all wish we were talking to candidates.
Yeah, and look, I think this is really important, not just from it's possible to automate, so let's do it. But I think for me, what we're seeing here locally is two different trends escalating and colliding, bumping into each other. And that is organisations are now transforming to become a skills-based organisation. So everything is about skill and everything is about capability. We've got the skills of the people we're hiring today, and then we're merging that with workforce planning so that we can now start to plan for what do future skills look like for future roles that are not even yet fully designed, right? So we've got this trend escalating in a very big way I don't know about you in the US, Adam, but here locally, it's happening. And the other thing that's happening is that, everyone from my 11-year-old to my 80-year-old mum, everyone has access to some pretty amazing AI tools. And so what's happened is everyone's resume looks incredible. Everyone's had the little, zhuzh up. But the trouble with that is that it's not an indicator of true skill and true capability. And so as we're getting further down the line and we're actually taking up hiring manager time in interviews, the hiring managers are the first to come back and say, guys, once I scratched the surface, there was no capability there. So we need to be determining things like, is the candidate real? Is it fraud? And how true and how deep is the skill and capability? And that's really hard to determine now that we've got this kind of, AI zhuzhing of people's resumes. Yet at the same time, we are heading down this very deep skill and capability path. Now, that means recruiters are going to have to spend time doing far more validation and being, that check of coming, the first through the door is going to have to be much deeper than it has been in the past.
Well, I think it's actually a great time to be a recruiter in that sense, in that people that love to dig in and find the truth and get past the first veneer really, really like that, right? And so I think the AI surge of candidates, AI lets us abstract away some of the boring stuff. So the quick screen to see who's just not qualified, they don't have the right hard qualification, they don't have the right degree or certification. Okay, those we can sort through those significantly better and get time back there. We can schedule. The average time to schedule an interview with Paradox is 2.5 minutes of like duration time, from the time I send it to the time it's on my calendar. And so rather than multiple days. So but I have to get back time other places if we're going to do what's going to be expected by hiring managers, to have the level of depth, because there aren't the lousy CVs anymore that you can rule out because they're lousy. there are better keyword matches, and so much of the job is to be able to have the good conversations and dig into what's real. And part of me says, like, that's what we needed anyway, is the recruiters to dig a little deeper and find what's real, as opposed to just relying on a nicely written CV.
That's right. And it's I know for some organizations they're already there, for others it's coming. And that's that pushback from hiring managers to say, how come the quality of what you're sending me is not what it used to be, right? And that's what we're kind of calling that, the hiring mirage, is that, look at this candidate, everyone's a unicorn. And so the time being wasted is really at the hiring manager end, and then it's coming back up, to the recruiters. So this is an interesting thing playing out. If we just head over to the chat, Faye saying, we're in the process of implementing Paradox. Can't wait to see the impact of less admin for our TA partners.
Let's go.
Yeah, and Claire's saying candidates don't realise that many candidates are using AI, therefore they don't stand out like they think they are. Yeah, that's a really good point. I've reviewed at least 3 CVs of internal TA leaders this week, and I have seen that for myself. Heading over to Q&A, Kim saying, yeah, that's the problem. Now everyone is perfect. And Renz is asking, regarding Paradox, can the system surface existing employees who might be a good fit for a role before we look externally? So will Paradox have the capability to have its own internal mobility management system?
Oh, Fran, you're queuing us up for some good things. I think one of the things I say often is it's got to be easier to find your next role in your existing company than your competitor's company, and having the right internal mobility that is organized and proactive, and really in 2 ways. One of those, at the most basic level, is an awareness challenge, being sure that someone that's ready for a role has awareness of what exists in in the company, and is able to be aware that if you are in project manager 2 and a project manager 3 role opens up, you should know about it, and be sure that you're able to be tapped on the shoulder. Of course, applying a set of rules around time and role, other things, but just that awareness is huge. And the second vector from an employee's perspective is really understanding the depth of that employee. It includes their wants, needs, desires, motivations, career path possibilities for them, and using that as well to think about their next move. So getting more intelligence from that as well. And so yes, part of the Workday AI suite is significant features around internal mobility, as that will become so important in this reskilling in the agentic era.
Yeah, agree. And like, we speak with customers, one of the largest here in Australia, and they were actually using LinkedIn to actually mine sort of internal candidates, which, in today's world seems, a little ridiculous that the best way to find your internal talent is through an external platform. So we'll jump in and talk through today around, okay, how we're solving for that, and what tools are available to do that for you. I know we're in this agentic era, Adam and Joe. We talk about it a lot. We've kind of gone from this basic search with AI to assistants, helping us, kind of an assistant for our candidates or recruiters. We're in now this agentic era where it kind of uses intelligence to then drive actions and outcomes. But we're also seeing then disconnected systems or data islands really impact that realization of value. Kind of what have you seen around lack of adoption in some of these external tools, or the impacts of creating data islands?
Yeah, since I've been around a while, I've gotten to do like an ATS selection process over 100 times, and there used to be a world where you had to choose between a connected system that's in your platform or the features that you wanted, a best of breed that you were going to integrate together, but man, did it have some cool features, and it was worth the pain of the integration. I think in the agentic era, you don't have that choice. I actually think there's a third way of having the connected system, but agents running on top of that system that get the work done. And that is important because of how agents work. So traditional software is programmed. So someone tells it what to do, gives it lots of configuration options, and it can make choices. Where an agent is based on a goal, so a set of tools you give it, and data. And that data is the foundation. And so without a foundation of data to your islands, your nice square, without that foundation, you don't have a true picture of what this agent could do. It is literally trying to achieve its goal without a complete picture of the situation. And so that's where the connected system is now in this agentic era more important than ever. And it's that thesis that is really driving for us at Workday to build agents, because we've got the data to be able to do that effectively and to scale talent acquisition and do some of the things that CRMs used to do, and so or that we used to have done manually, but to be able to have agents do those because they have connection to the system. Ian, I think you and I both spent some time in the outsourcing industry, and you'd write the playbooks of exactly what a recruiter should do. Of course, as soon as you get the rec, you should go and open the search your existing database for candidates and contact them first. And then no one ever, right? Because you had these adoption problems. And but the thing is, the agent does, and the agent, because it's connected to the job architecture to understand your internal candidates to go look there first, the job profiles, all the rest of the data in your organization, the agents can actually follow those instructions and get stuff done.
It brings back a lot of memories that if the role wasn't advertised on Seek, hiring managers didn't believe that you're actually working on it. Which such a waste of time and money going through hundreds of CVs where they might not even be relevant. Or you go out to an agency, they send you a candidate only to learn later on that they're already there in your database, and you've spent a heap of money and time. Right. Where now, with a click of a button, you can actually surface those candidates that are already there, that's doing that work for you. Like, Joe, you mentioned around sort of skills. Like, I've had lots of conversation around skills where we've kind of now transitioned to kind of tasks. So how you layer over task and the way work gets done in addition to skills. How are we seeing that kind of impact, like on moving away from those traditional CRMs to kind of the technology that we're seeing today?
Yeah, well, look, I guess people are breaking roles down by task to understand, what percentage of the time are you spending doing X. But then the skill and capability, I guess, is on the person side, right? So, do you have the influencing skills or the business acumen in order to engage in the task of leading stakeholder groups, kind of thing? So they're both equally relevant and important. But I think, one of the sessions that we ran at the ATC conference last year was kind of talking about, you can look at the tasks and look at the way in which people are spending the time and look at what's possible to automate. But we also need to be mindful of what is it that the individual, the talent leader or the recruiter get the most joy from. And one of the things that there was, the ability to heavily automate. Well, like, no, that's the thing we love the most. We get our joy out of that, and it actually, that human interaction achieves other things. So I think, it's that bigger picture of, what the bots can do. And then also the, unbottable experiences, those human experiences that we want to sort of incorporate. And that takes time to surface. It takes, a lot of engagement to look at when you're talking about the entirety of the function and the tasks and the role. But, let's get real. Some of the people on this call today may be from a very small organization and they're only handling, 8 roles at a time. And, that's the requirement of that role. You will not always be in that role, unless you are planning on retiring in that organization. It won't only be that environment you're working in. Whereas others will be on the line going, we get 20 million applications a year globally. And the experience at the moment is that most candidates are ignored, right? So it's about, we're actually using technology to dial up tasks that have not been happening in the past that should be happening, right? So I guess from that perspective, we've got organisations coming out saying we plan to be the most customer-centric organisation in Australia. But when you dig into that, what they're saying is we actually don't want to ignore our customers anymore. We want to engage with them more heavily. And the only way we can do that at scale is this. And we want them to be able to do that at 11 o'clock at night or 2 p.m. on a Sunday or, whatever that looks like. So even if you dig into skills and even if you dig into tasks, when you're talking about the other side of the market, can I call you, Ian, at 2 p.m. on a Sunday and have a chat about what I want and need? Let's hope not.
Always pick up, Joe. I will. But I agree. But we've always, Joe. But I still have conversations with teams today where they're like, I don't want to give up into scheduling interviews. But going back to the example here, we have seen a lot of lack of adoption of those traditional CRMs. We've got a global organization today that fills 70% of their roles through kind of our recruiting agent, where it, click of the button, it goes through that database. So we're seeing this shift. But it's a good segue into how we looking at that collaboration between kind of the human and kind of the agent or AI. And on the left here, it's really around, that traditional role. We're hearing that today it's still incredibly manual. A lot of that time is spent up with transactional, repetitive tasks, a little bit of that process reorientation and maybe an element of strategic thinking. But when you sort of shift into this agent or machine collaboration, that kind of dynamic changes massively. So I'm sure many of us are using kind of individual agents to help us draft emails. The other piece is an enterprise agents like our recruiting or candidate experience agent are freeing people up to then kind of look at process reinvention, curating experiences and doing that more fun stuff. Like, Adam, what are you seeing in terms of how that kind of frees recruiters up to then, what else are they doing with their time when we can give that back to them?
Yeah, there's lots of things you can do with more time. I think one thing we see is recruiters simply being more productive and having a larger span, right? Being able to fill more roles. They did one set a span of 30 roles, and now it's 40 or 50 roles, and being able to have a broader span in the organization. We also see a lot of them working more on strategic initiatives. So I think the future is really just getting we're involved in delivery for so long of just making the things happen, and we were the labor in the machine to be sure that candidates got from stage to stage, and from that everyone was communicated with and happy. And as agents do more and more of that work, it is strategic programs, things, and frankly, the competition for talent, I think we covered in the open, is sometimes requiring that top talent to have more time spent with them, to really convince them to join. And there's those old-fashioned recruiter skills that we have to get people to love our organization. And so I think this is a good chart you've got, Ian, in terms of the things you used to have can now be compressed, and you've got freed up time. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news. That's probably not going to be for drinking coffee and for going to the beach. It is going to be for doing the things in many ways that we've always said we wanted to do in this industry, right? Be more strategic, and be able to have better relationships with hiring managers, and to build trust, to be able to invest in some conversations with candidates that you don't have an open role for right now, that you'd never be able to have the conversation with if you didn't have some time to reach out and play the long game with them. And so in some ways, what's old is new again. And I think this backward bending movement of old-fashioned recruiting, that of convincing people to join, that is enabled by this AI era, this agentic era.
Yeah, and it's all about relationships, which kind of we love. That's why we do recruitment. It's really relationship orientated. So we've got a saying in our team that is kind of happy dogs. So if, as an organization, if you're not tracking the return on investment and value realization in time back, people are just going to have that time to maybe actually have time for a coffee, walk their dog in the morning, walk their dog at lunchtime. So we're looking at working with organizations about how you track that, and then also how you realize that and make sure work is being kind of repositioned, rather than just freeing up a bit of time here and there.
Yeah, well, I think that to the point, we've seen incredible results from clients, and I think especially in frontline recruitment, where the recruiting is close to the cash register, both figuratively and literally, where we see companies take their time to hire from 21 days to 3. I talked to a Dutch retailer yesterday at our client event, and they'd taken time to hire from 60 days to 7. But what they're most proud of actually was that it used to take 80 applicants, and now it took 13. And that was just 67 less people that they had to communicate with or to disappoint because they didn't get the role. And just by hiring so much faster, they were able to free up those store managers in their case, but also the recruiters, to be able to not be managing questions and handling the volume in other ways, but just being able to speed up, give them time back in their day.
Yeah, and I'm hearing a lot of feedback from the market that ghosting is still a thing. It's still happening, and despite some great initiatives here, it's a thing. And for consumer brands, it's close to the cash register, as you say. I like that. I'm going to borrow that one brilliantly. That if I'm sure many of us have gone through that hiring experience, or someone in their friends, they've had a terrible experience, and then you're like, well, I'm not going to go and spend my own personal money there.
Sure,
I'll go and spend it somewhere else. It's real. So I want to sort of switch to kind of your vision. You essentially, along with some great team at Paradox, kind of created a new segment, so conversational AI in hiring. I'm really excited around what you're going to do, within talent acquisition suite at Workday, being the product owner. So, I'd love to hear what you and your team are working on. What can we expect for Workday customers and non-Workday customers?
Yeah, I think the era here is that foundation of Workday recruiting, but then the agents to do the work, and so that's been the acquisition strategically that Workday has made, knowing that they've got the foundational models close to the data of the company, and so the job architecture and the employees and the all the jobs, and being able to have that connected system matters. But now agents to do the work. And so I think last year, Paradox scheduled 32 million interviews on behalf of candidates. That was about 1 out of every 10 in the US. And so a tremendous amount of just work that was getting done, and in a way that was better than it was getting done before, both faster, higher satisfaction, where everyone literally was happier with the experience. And so that's the direction of travel, is how do we take this, the connection to the company's data, and then have agents that are intelligent be able to take away the transactional work. And I want you to hear me really clearly when I said the transactional work, not the human work. I don't believe an agent can convince someone to join, to move across the country, to make a life decision. I get really annoyed, as you know, Ian, when people compare this to online shopping, because this is a deeply personal experience. It is something that has connection to your self-worth, to your economic opportunity, and it is something that is to be treated with reverence and respect, and with its own cultural norms. To your point, if someone, you wouldn't shop somewhere if someone didn't answer your application or ghosted you, right? And so it has to be treated differently as its own special thing, and that's where I don't like when people suggest, you can just use a consumer LLM to just do all of this. It is a place that requires specialized tools and connected into processes to make that work. And so the work for us as talent acquisition professionals is in redesigning the work. And that's one of the parts that's been really fun for us as an organization, is to get to rethink, okay, like, how should this work? How should a talent acquisition process feel? What should the emotional high points be for candidates? When should we engage? And we love getting with customers in front of a whiteboard and designing how it should work in their organization based on their values and their unique circumstances and their unique businesses. That's the fun part.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think in terms of, there's those key moments in your life. It's kind of moving house, maybe getting married, having kids, but careers, your career has such a big impact on your personal life. So couldn't agree more. And that's what recruiters, I hear, is that they don't want to lose that human element. So I talk about some of the UI, because we talk about kind of recruiter experience and friction, and we're all about kind of frictionless experiences. So I wanted to share some of the screen grabs around what you're thinking of in terms of what's that future of that interaction as a recruiter, or how you get work done. So I don't know if you want to.
Before you jump into that, guys, I'm going to ask the basic question, because I don't want to skip over it. But one of the biggest frustrations that recruiters and candidates have is that they see a role online, they click to apply, and they're met with the dreaded login page. And it's like, oh, apparently I need to create a login. No, wait, apparently I already have a login. That was 5 years ago. I don't have access to that Hotmail account anymore. I mean, a massive frustration, a massive barrier. Where are we at today with the dreaded login page?
No, we didn't talk about this, but this is a good tee up for me. So that depends a lot on how it gets designed. So I'll say Paradox was designed without a login page. It literally doesn't exist. Because that's not how we thought it should work. When you click on an apply button, it says, hi, what's your name? And we start that process. And then we use two-factor authentication with sending you a text to authenticate. So anytime you want to come back, you can authenticate in through your mobile device and something that you have. And we call that chat to apply. And we're able to just chat on your phone to fulfill an application. And that can be done with, of course, SAP, Oracle, other systems, but also on Workday. And so being able to do the chat to apply for Workday clients. And the Workday this year released its social sign-on as well. So unfortunately, customers have got to turn it on, and so they've got to just put a button to do that. And so we're trying to get more customers to push the button to do that. But with that, you can apply with your LinkedIn profile. And you can apply with your Google or Apple profile as well. And so being able to break down that barrier, that's a long time frustration, and make it a place.
Yeah, I think you guys finally found a good use of the QR code, right? You pop by.
Finally we did.
You get your QR code, you apply. But when you were talking earlier about it hitting the cash register, I mean, when you look at the true value of what you're spending at the grocery store, like it's definitely way up there as probably our second biggest expense, behind our housing. And everyone's got their favorite, right? You're either a Woolies person or you're a Coles person, you're an IGA person. Everyone's got their family favorite. And I mean, my family favorite was my mum's family favorite. So we're talking about a store that I've been going into now for 50 years. And if my son applies at that store and they can't be bothered getting back to him, this is our,
Emotional.
yeah, absolutely it is. Yeah.
Yeah,
For
it does
sure.
matter. It does matter. And that's companies. Yeah, they care. There's a duty of care that companies have to maintain their brand for applicants, and that's often unseen work.
Yeah. Nothing makes me happy when I see kind of parents posting on LinkedIn saying their kid's just gone to apply for a role at a fast food organization, this restaurant, and they can't believe how easy it was, how quick, like literally within a few minutes of applying that they've got an interview. Like that just kind of makes me really happy around that you can actually start changing that experience for people.
And I think the amount of stress that, students are feeling from high school through to university about, oh God, apparently there's going to be no jobs. What if I go to uni and spend all this money in that job? There's this level of fear that they have that none of us grew up with, right? And I think it's really good for them to be getting those early, immediate signals that the job market is responsive to them. I think that's amazing. Very important.
Yeah, huge. Absolutely. And so, Ian, kind of talking about the plans of Workday. And so, because we've grown by acquisition, plan one is we've got to make sure that it all feels like one thing. And so, bringing together a conversational interface to be able to start, but then also having a great place for recruiters to act and getting the information you recruiters need to help make decisions into one place. And so, our release later this year, we're going to make some substantial updates, both to the look and feel. For those of you that use Workday today, this is a different look and feel, but also the information that you have at your disposal, and then the ability to quickly make decisions and move candidates through, and being able to see their qualifications, but then also take action without having to go in and out, but be able to make that next action. So I can see a great CV, understand that, and click a button to say, Olivia, schedule the interview, have that back to an interview scheduled status in 2.5 minutes, and then move right on to the next one, do it in bulk, however that suits me best, to be able to again, we've got to give time back because the job requires more depth, more strategy than it ever has. And so we can't be spending time doing clicking work. We've got to be spend time doing thinking work. And it's high time that happens.
Yeah, I'm sure there's many people watching this that are very excited about kind of some of these UI tweaks that are coming, just to reduce some of those clicks and present information there that's relevant in the flow of their work. Whilst we're on the kind of subject of kind of forward-looking, Adam, we speak about this every time, normally over a beer. So obviously we're not doing that. It's a little bit early here for me. But
it's late for me. You never know.
Exactly. Well, maybe straight after this webinar. But what do you see as kind of the future of recruiting? There's doomers and there's gloomers out there, and every day I'm reading an article around AI is coming. These people's roles are being impacted. Like I'm very much of the gloomer camp, and it's actually redistributing the way work's done rather than the replacement. But love to hear your thoughts on and what you're seeing.
Yeah, I think in many ways it depends on what you think the job is. And we'll think about the recruiter job as an administrative function where your job was to push paper around or click buttons in a system. Like, that's not likely the future. But as long as there's competition for talent, this is going to be an essential business function. And you can see what recruiters make in Silicon Valley when they're recruiting the AI engineers that make tens of millions of dollars a year, or people that help to recruit professional athletes or people for elite sports teams or occupations. But recruiting is a function of competition. And the job is absolutely going to change, but it is not a profession that is going to go away, because companies need to compete for talent, and how they compete for talent is going to be different. I think I grew up having a Rolodex and a literal folders on my desk, and recruiting was kind of hand-to-hand combat. It was face to face. You went to job fairs, you talked to people, and you convinced them to join. And I think much of the era of recruiting we've been in has been the behind the desk era. And I think that the new era is going to split the job into a few different things, and this is good. But by the way, in my view, is that you'll split people that are going to be your back to basics, back to old school recruiters that are convincing people to join, and then you're also going to have people that are design and monitoring automation, and so thinking about the meta agent, and also being able to find where there are corner cases and people are stuck in processes, any number of other things. But I think what you won't have is people that are in the middle that wish they were talking to candidates but are ticking buttons in their system, and doing administrative work. And so I think we're all better off for that, and people can find their home in this profession. Yeah,
I couldn't agree more. I also started my career with my talent community was in a paper folder on my desk and faxed CVs to organizations. So I think we're all showing our age.
Imagine if we ended our career and we were still doing that, right? Like how
That's
unappealing.
Right.
How unappealing.
I was thinking about this. I spent years doing volume recruitment. I literally have 20 or 30 of the same conversations asking around where they work, or can they get to this office? Do you have work rights? Have you got any experience in a call center? And I kind of reflect back on that was boring work, to be honest. So how we can actually then elevate work and make it more interesting and fun for people and add much greater value, I think it's only a good thing for us all in this space.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a great time to be alive, a great time to be in this industry. There's excitement ahead, and I think I'm excited to be able to design a new future that is great to live in. And if you're going to get to design it well.
Excellent. No pressure, Adam. But this is being recorded, so I'm truly excited. I'm a believer, so look forward to seeing it come to fruition. But I know we've got about 10 minutes left. People always have to jump off for the next meeting in their day. We'd love to cover any Q&A. I
was going to say, if there's any final questions, jump in now. Jump over to the Q&A button and pop them in, and we can finish off strong. Rens is asking, fit for the role. No, we've covered that one. That one's okay. There was one somewhere else. We'll just wait and see if we get any new ones pop through. But while we're waiting for that to happen, Ian, you have used this internally. In a corporate setting, you've implemented this in a number of corporate organizations. Can you share a really practical vision of what like a reinvented hiring process looks like when humans and agents are collaborating effectively? What does it look like for the individual? What does it look like for the leader at like that case level?
Yeah, I think maybe even before getting to that, there's lots of AI out there today. I think it's really around understanding what's the problem that you're looking to solve. So really around actually going back to basics, actually understand where the friction is, where those bottlenecks are, where the waiting time is in recruiting, and really starting there. So it could be a pile-on problem where you've got candidates just recruiters wading through numerous applicants, or it could be the complete opposite. There's a scarcity and they just can't find candidates. So I think understanding where to start, what's that biggest pain point, and how that aligns with kind of the organization's objectives, then actually kind of taking it from there. I think the thing that I say is, where are you going to start? I say sort of start where you're going to have the biggest impact. In recruiting, I've always said this, it's actually interview scheduling. We see teams spending 20 to 25% of their time scheduling interviews, or even scheduling their own recruiter phone screens. That can be largely kind of almost completely automated today. So if you're not doing that today, start there, because those early quick wins will give you credibility for future investment to start then looking at how you enhance experience, how you drive internal mobility, how you sort of rank and screen candidates. So that's kind of what my high level advice. Adam, anything you'd love to jump in on building on that?
I think that's great advice, Ian. You nailed it.
Well, I was going to say, I think that helps to answer Maisie's question. So she said, for those without the ability to bring in new tech just yet, what do you think we could all do differently utilising AI to increase time available to speak to candidates? I mean, my answer would be slightly different in terms of like the justification to be able to bring in new tech. I think if you haven't tried recently, try again, because the entire conversation around technology and AI has shifted at a really broad global level. CEOs have now got this within their kind of, top three thinking, what is our stance on this? How are we going to crack this nut? So I think their eyes are open, their ears are open like they haven't been before. So if you've tried in the past, my advice would be to try again. I'd also be talking about looking at the salaries of the people in the organisation. Wouldn't it be great? I mean, if we have someone on, say, $150,000, wouldn't it be great if we were able to use their $150,000 skills all the time, rather than getting them to do an $80,000 skill 40% of their time? Like, what a waste of money. So I think, being able to kind of look at what that salary is, what does that time and task look like, what are we getting people to do instead, and and maybe you can tell me in the chat, currently when it comes to scheduling interviews, you need to, and maybe put wait, you need to wait for a hiring manager to come back to you and say, here's my availability Wednesday at 9 or Thursday at 2. Do you have the ability to schedule manually? So look at the hiring manager's diary, pop something in without their permission, but you have to manually do it. Or are you automated? So if you could maybe put wait, schedule manually, or automated, we can kind of get a sense of, what people are doing there at the moment. So Andrea, it's a mix between waiting and scheduling manually. Billy is waiting. Maisie, wait. Yeah. And so I think this is one of the biggest issues of missing out on talent, is all of your competitors are now not waiting, right? So they're able to get that candidate while they're in the market in front of the hiring manager much quicker than you are. So you can go through the process and then still have lost them because a Paradox client have been able to act quicker. Anything else to add on to that, guys?
I was going to say, like, going back to Maisie's kind of question, like, I'm very fortunate now. I get to speak with organizations across HR, across the, IT, finance, around, AI adoption, talent acquisition. We've been leveraging AI for over a decade. We're very early adopters in AI. Don't underestimate that. It's really powerful. So, go and have those conversations, market what you're doing, because I'd say actually most of the TA community are more advanced than many of their peers in their organization around leveraging AI in the business. So go there, show what's the results have been, whether it's in your organization or others that are comparable, and build that business case to start their investment.
Fabulous. One other question comes from Faye. We're in design and implementation stages with Paradox and HiredScore. Any tips for success? Oh,
lots of tips for success, but only a couple minutes. So I'll start with a couple.
That'll take 5 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, right. I think, and a whiteboard. I think the top I would have was segment your populations for different types of roles. So one of the mistakes many of the early ATSs made was sort of one workflow, but I would think about your frontline workforce if you have one. Most companies do of some type, and think about speed as your main vector there and how you can make that go fast, maybe a decentralized process. But in the frontline, you should be able to hire someone in a week, full stop. And then think differently about how you put in, for example, HiredScore for CV scoring in a process where they have CVs, and how that might be different, whether you want to sort of queue up a review process or involve the hiring manager in that, but mostly doing process design multiple times for your core job categories rather than a one-size-fits-all approach, and segmenting and measuring those results differently.
Fantastic. Well, I think that's it for the Q&A. Any parting words?
For me, just a big thank you to you, Joe. Like it was fun to get to talk about talent acquisition with you, and Ian. Always good to see you. But we've got a great future ahead. Excited about AI's contributions for both candidate experience and business results.
Likewise, thanks everyone. Adam, thank you so much for jumping on in your evening, and Joe, as always, a pleasure, and look forward to the next one.
Yeah, love it. Truly in an era where we are now spoiled for choice when it comes to the tools we have always wanted, we've complained about, we've asked for, we've dreamed about, and really this is the moment where we can get in there and help our organisations to be competitive, which is going to be really important over the next kind of 3 to 5 years for sure. So thank you so much, everyone. We will have the slides out to you later today and the recording of this. We'd like to share with you that we have an AI Uplift half-day workshop for talent professionals coming up all over the country. Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, Perth, Auckland, Wellington, we are coming to you. This is really hands-on and talent specific. And then finally, we have launching today the ATC 2026 theme of Uplift, Rise Together. You will find an outline on the theme on the ATC website. We hope you get amongst it and hope to see you at the workshops all together. 500 people, amazing. The brightest minds in talent all together in October at Fed Square. Bye for now.